You might be excellent at what you do, but we all exist in a very crowded market right now. And the reason for that is just basically anybody with a laptop can start a business, which is good in some ways and not so good in others. But basically, what it means for you is that being good just isn't good enough anymore. You have to find a way to be skilled, experienced, and stand out from the crowd. Because the thing is, when everybody sounds the same, they can't tell the difference between you and someone who's charging half your price. So they end up choosing based on who's cheapest or like who they found first, not who's actually the best person or agency or consultancy or business to work with. And how do I know? Well, I've helped generate more than $250 million in sales for my clients, from solo founders all the way up to Fortune 500 brands like McDonald's and Microsoft. And it really all just comes down to understanding how real people actually take in information and make decisions. So the psychology behind why they do what they do. And I can tell you both from a lot of years of real world experience and from data and research, very important, that the biggest factor in whether a business is going to be successful or not is how memorable it is. That's why in this video, I'm going to share the exact framework that my clients use to stand out in markets so crowded they can barely move or breathe. It's called signature IP. And it's the difference between being just another voice, another faceless option in the crowd, and being the only option. And that's a very good thing. So let's get into it. If you've been around choice hacking at all, you've definitely heard me say this, and that is marketing is memory making. And that's it. Now, most business owners explain what they do the same exact way as their competitors. So they'll talk about like their process or their degrees or their experience or their approach, but it really all ends up sounding the same. Even when you're excellent at what you do, if you sound the same as everybody else, you're going to be invisible. A client is not going to remember like a way to categorize business units based on market share and growth. A client is going to remember something called the BCG matrix, which looks like this, with its cash cows, the stars, the dogs, the question marks. If you're a client, you're not going to remember something like understanding the gap between business promises and customer experience. Like, that's boring. You remember an empathy gap. You can see it in your head. It's self-explanatory. You won't remember something like a system for building trust before selling. Instead, you'll remember something like the trust funnel. And all of this works because of a psychological principle called the von Restorff effect, which is also called the contrast effect. And it says that things that stand out, that are different and distinct, they create memories inside of our heads. When you do something like naming your approach and you make it concrete, and you make it distinctive and different, it will stick inside people's heads. Now, if I tell you about like my unique approach to marketing, your brain doesn't really have like anything to hook onto or remember. But when I tell you about something like the trust funnel, suddenly you can picture it inside your head, you can remember it, and you might even be able to like draw it on a napkin if I asked you to. That's the difference between something that's an idea or an insight and something that is IP. What do I mean when I say IP? IP just stands for intellectual property. So insights are powerful ideas, but IP gives those insights a name. It might give them a visual. It's something memorable that only you can claim and that you're going to talk about quite a bit. And by the way, if you want to build a business that stands out from the crowd, be sure to grab my $1 Million Solo Brand Blueprint. It's a totally free 7-day email course where I share 7 of my best business growth strategies, the ones that have helped me create more than $250 million for my solo SMB and Fortune 500 clients. You can grab it at solobrandblueprint.com or just, click the link in the description. Distinction is how memories are made, and memories equal sales. It is that simple. But memory is just the first problem that signature IP can solve. When every single business sounds the same and nobody feels different, your buyers or clients will tend to choose based on price. So here's an example. Let's say you've got agency A and they offer email marketing services. And then you've got agency B, which offers email marketing services. Now, on the surface, there's zero difference between them. Potential clients look at these two agencies and they think, well, let's just go with whoever's cheapest because they sound the same to me. But what if agency A has some signature IP? Okay, now agency A offers email marketing powered by the Neuro Inbox framework, a proprietary model that uses neuroscience to increase open rates by 40% on average. And by the way, I just made that up, so I don't think anyone's actually using Neuro Inbox framework. So if you like it, take it. But meanwhile, over here, agency B is still offering that generic like email marketing services. Now, suddenly these two agencies aren't competing on price. They're competing on ideas, which is really important. So agency A has something ownable and concrete and distinct, different and memorable. So they can win and they can charge a premium, which are two things that we all want to do. In this case, any client that's going to go with like random agency B sort of deserves what they get if they're comparing it to somebody who has signature IP like agency A. Because clearly, if they choose agency B in this scenario, they're only driven by price and not results. And by the way, this can happen with product businesses too. So if you have like a company A that's selling organic protein bars and company B that's selling organic protein bars, it's the same problem as the agencies had until company A develops something called their clean fuel system, which could be like a proprietary protein blend that's timed for optimal energy release. Now they're not just selling protein bars, they're selling a nutrition system and a way of looking at the world that only they can sell. So use me as an example, choice hacking, my business. If I just said I help businesses grow, I sound like 10,000 other consultants, at least. But when I say something like, I install the psychology-driven trust funnel to turn strangers into followers, into buyers, into repeat buyers, that's unique. It's memorable. Even if somebody else is talking about trust in marketing, I can own this idea of the choice hacking trust funnel. In my buyers' heads, I basically own that bit of space. Now, when you have signature IP, it will change the conversations that you have with potential buyers and clients. Instead of being forced to just defend your prices all the time, your IP, your intellectual property, can actually do that for you because now you're not just another like random commoditized option like toothpaste or like toilet paper. Basically, substitutable is what we mean by commoditized. You're the only one who offers your specific solution and your way of delivering it. Now you're a premium product. A lot less like toothpaste and toilet paper, and a lot more like a Ferrari. People have to have it, right? It's different, it's special. And by the way, helping my clients develop their own signature IP is what I do inside of my one-on-one coaching and in Chief Business Co-Pilot, which is where I help business owners, consultants, coaches, agencies, product businesses, consultancies create these $1 million+ brands using buyer psychology principles, marketing effectiveness research, strategic positioning, and signature IP. Don't worry, you don't have to be a $1 million business. In fact, you can be starting from scratch to come in and work with me. We get you on the path to that North Star of a $1 million business. And you can learn more at chiefbusinesscopilot.com or that link in the description. You know what to do. So signature IP, it makes you easier to remember and much easier to hire and pay. But there is one last advantage that it gives you that in this day and age really matters more and more as the marketplace is getting more and more crowded. In a sea of experts that all kind of do what you do and offer what you offer and talk about what you talk about, how are you supposed to stand out? Like your credentials aren't going to do it. They can help, certainly. But these days, having master's degrees, MBAs, these are table stakes in a lot of industries, even PhDs. Your experience isn't necessarily going to do it because everyone has some kind of experience. Your testimonials won't do it on their own. Everybody has testimonials, but signature IP can become the thing that people remember you for. So, for example, when people think about simplicity in branding, they probably think of Siegel and Gale's Simplicity Index. When they think about measuring customer experience, they're going to think of the Havas X Index. When people think about psychology-powered sales and marketing and business, they're going to think of the choice hacking trust funnel. The point is that your IP can make you instantly recognizable and memorable in what is otherwise a very commoditized market. One of my clients, for example, is a business strategist with 25 years of experience, and he was losing clients to younger consultants because they were just charging less. He actually told me, I have 10 times their experience, but they're getting all the clients because they're cheaper. And the problem was that while this consultant, we're just going to call him Al, which is obviously not his real name, but just to protect his identity, he was just selling like business strategy consulting. And so were they. Al expected clients to do their homework and discover that he had worked with some of the biggest and most impressive companies in his industry, but they didn't. They didn't have time for that. Like, I've been a client. They don't have time to do that. And what was important to Al just wasn't as important to them. Al, like, I'm not going to take anything away from his experience. He is an expert, but Because he was so close to his expertise, he expected everybody else to notice it and understand it the same way that he does. So we ended up taking Al's experience and we packaged it into a proprietary offering, so his signature IP, one of which was a really effective three-phase system for scaling local service-based businesses. So think like plumbers, construction, that kind of thing, and getting them from six figures to seven figures plus. Pretty quickly, once we kind of nailed that signature IP, Al went from competing on price and losing out to these younger consultants who had, just to be frank, like less experience and didn't really know what they were doing, definitely not compared to Al, to having to actually turn away clients. Now, he was the same consultant, same experience, same ways of working, same results, same credentials, everything. But now he had signature IP, and that made a huge difference to how memorable and concrete his solutions felt to those potential clients. So they could picture that outcome and the process inside their heads. And that goes so far to getting people to feel like it's not a risk, it's a sure thing. Because the thing is, when you have signature IP, you stop being seen as kind of a generic commodity that's easy to substitute for any old other business. And instead, you become what I like to call a category of one. And the really, really brilliant thing about creating signature IP is that it's not really about inventing something new at all. It's about packaging what you already do. It's like claiming and then giving a name to this unique way that you look at the world and how you solve problems based on your unique experience and expertise. Because the thing is, your experience and your expertise is incredibly valuable, but if it's unnamed, it becomes invisible. And it's really difficult for people to just buy the like, just trust me, bro, way of solving problems. Like, I work with this big company. Just trust me, I can do it. People don't like to do that. It feels risky. So when you take your approach and your experience and your way of looking at things and you transform that into something like signature IP, whether that's a framework, model, or some kind of method, you can give your buyers something that they can trust and see inside their heads and remember. And you stop competing on price and instead, like the agency that we talked about, like the protein company that we talked about, you can start to compete on ideas. And by the way, this video is part of my signature IP series where I'm going to show you how to turn your expertise into ownable and memorable intellectual property, frameworks and models, things like that can make selling yourself and your business about 1,000 times easier. And also, even if you hate to sell yourself, even if you hate to market yourself, signature IP can make it so much easier. So check out the playlist to learn more about it, links in the description, or you can join me in one-on-one coaching or Chief Business Copilot to create your signature IP with less uncertainty, fewer headaches, in at least half the time. I'm Jen Clinehens, and I'll see you in the next one.